Fans of Miss Henson in the house. You guys are gonna be blown away by her performance here. And a lot of that was made possible by this man right here, Bissell, who found this amazing story and was able to not only take it from a paragraph to a full-on script. I'm getting choked up, I haven't done this before. And full-on script, and worked so hard to get it made. And I think together we're very proud of what you're about to see. Thank you.
So again, just to say what Dominique said, thank you for being here on such a rainy night. I know why we're all here. The movie and Taraji. But again, this was a story that touched me early on, and I had a lot of help telling it. From Ann Atwater herself for 3 years before she passed away, to Dominique, who's my angel, who read the script and said, we're going to get this money, and she got it. To Bill Riddick, who you'll get to know in the film. And of course, last but definitely not least, the reason this movie got made, other than Ann Atwater, is Taraji Henson. So,
it's always good to come home. I like when I come home and I have something to give y'all. Listen, this movie is so near and dear to my heart. It is so important, this message, that I gave up my entire hiatus, which is my vacation. I had 2.5 months off from Empire. You know that show? And the year I did it, well, let me just give you a little bit of history. Danny Strong, one of the creators and writers, producers of Empire, gave me this script when we filmed the pilot of Empire. And of course, schedules didn't work out. The show became a hit, and I was busy, and then the elections of 2016 happened. And I noticed the racial climate changing drastically. I called Danny and I said, we have to make this film, and we have to make it now. And he was like, aren't you filming Proud Mary? I said, I don't care. I will give up my entire vacation, my hiatus for this, because this film is important. And I went to the hospital, making joy, almost died, but you know what? It was worth it. Because this film gives us hope. This is not a white hope film. This is not a white hope savior film, so we get that out. This black woman, from the sheer God's unconditional, all-inclusive love, and if you call yourself a Christian and you ain't out here loving like that, then you need to check yourself. Through her sheer love, unconditional God love, and all-inclusive God love, she was able to reach this man's hateful heart and change his ways. And you know what she did? She saved another generation from hate. So this movie is very important. It is needed now. After you see it, go out and tell the world, because we need a big charrette. And you'll see what I'm talking about when we see this film. So thank you for all coming out on this rainy night. I love my family. Where y'all I love you guys, and please enjoy The Best of Enemies. That's why we love Taraji P. Henson.
To the stage, the director, Bissell, the producer, Dominique Telson, and the star of this incredible film, Academy Award nominee, Taraji P.
I took the heels on, my feet are done.
You at home, you just fine.
Yeah,
you have shoes.
At home.
Yes. Well, I mean, how incredible an experience was this?
It was good.
You enjoyed yourself? Again, my name is and I want to have a brief conversation about what this film means right now.
Because I know you all felt the same thing I felt when I first saw this movie, that you could take any of the moments here and it could have been happening in 2019, am I right? Like, I know I've seen some, so they are happening. I've seen some civil rights activists here. Everybody's auntie April Ryan is here. She goes through it every day in that press room at the White House. But let's place ourselves in reality, because we're still stuck in this place. The Southern Poverty Law Center just reported that we're at an all-time high in this country of the existence of hate groups. We know that by the year 2053, it's predicted that black people on average will have zero wealth in this country. By 2053. We know that a white high school dropout has more average wealth than a black college graduate in 2019. And we also know that right now, schools like the schools in Durham and all across the country are more segregated now than they were the day Brown versus Board became the law of the land. So here we are having a conversation about a film that needs to be talked about right now. And Taraji, I want to start with you, because Ann Atwater, my goodness. You know, you came out here, you told us this was not a white savior movie, but I want to talk about why you chose to play someone who doesn't fit the archetype of a respectable Negro or of, you know, kind of the articulate activist that people like to prop up, right? I mean, we saw that pocketbook was glued to her hand, right? She is a black woman through and through, will cuss you out when she needs to. Why is it important in this moment for us to encounter a woman like Ann Atwater, and what do you think that she can teach us about who we need to be right now?
I think what Ann Atwater can teach us is that, I mean, literally, this is an example of being the change you want to see. Her approach in the beginning was to fight him with his fight. But until, I mean, if you, I just got to go back to being Christians. They both believed in God, right? They both went to church, all of that, right? But when you call yourself a Christian, again, I said it before the movie started, if you're not loving like God or unconditional or all-inclusive, then are you really a Christian? And any Bible, Quran, any book of religion, it says the same thing. I don't care what language it's in. It says to love your enemies. And until she was able to fall back and tap into that unconditional God love and look at this man as a human. So you got to realize, when people join hate groups, gangs, cults, whatever it is, what are they looking for? Community. Acceptance, love, community, right? And these hate groups find them at their most vulnerable moments. They are humans. I had someone tweet me today, somebody looking like me, and they said, well, I'm not going to see this movie because for you to humanize a KKK, well, baby, he is a human. You know, we're all humans. And, you know, yes, you want to hate. That's your visceral, that's your knee-jerk reaction. But that's not what God put us here for. Now, you got to remember, if God wanted one race to be here, that's right, he would have made it. But he's clever. And he made us look very different. And all of us are from different backgrounds. And that is our life's job, to figure it out, to get along. Because we're all humans. I saw the most incredible tweet one day. 3 eggs. One dark brown, one middle brown, one white. They cracked them all open and fried them, and they all looked the same. And it said, racism for dummies.
Speaking of black women making a difference in the world, do you have any favorite 2020 candidates? Kamala, Stacey Abrams, maybe?
They haven't all jumped in yet. So let's see.
Okay, I had to ask. I want to, Dominique,
I'm blow my wire too soon.
Dominique, I want to move on to you, because you decided to support this film from the early days, but you've been telling Black stories for a long time. I know that you created Showtime's Black Filmmaker Showcase, and so we have so much that we owe to you. That's right, a Black woman, that's right. We have so much to owe to you, right? We know that we can see films like this because of trails that you blazed. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all. You know, when I first got the screener, I was like, oh no. I don't know if this is gonna be another one of those white savior movies. And I went ahead and clicked play, not just because it was my job, because Taraji ain't never let us down before. So I was like, I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna hold on. But what I found is that you all didn't move to the default, because the default is to give white men credit for everything, right? That is a societal default. And there are so many times when we have watched black women be colonized out of our own stories. So what is the advice that you have for a Hollywood that continues to play into that trope? We see it time and time again. We've seen it very recently. What is your advice to Hollywood to get them to move away from that and move on to something else that is affirming and yes, full of love, but is honest and tells the truth?
What I can tell you is what I do, which is I read a script and I look for the character. I look for the human that's there, and is that somebody that I want to spend time with? Is that how am I going to feel after this movie is made? There's tons of producers out there. You can make any movies that you want, but I just know the only thing I can really control is what I can produce and what I can back. And I love to back stories where strong women, like the one Taraji just played, and somebody that's going to inspire me, and someone that really, Ann Atwater. I mean, she just was able to change not just this town of Durham, but her generations behind her, her aunt, her grandchildren are there with Ann's, with CP's grandchildren, and they're starting. He started that, and it was from Ann. Ann was able to find a way to touch his heart, and I felt like that's something that we all need to see. Kind of look beyond myself. And not be afraid, because Ann was not afraid, so she had so much strength, and to me, I want to laugh sometimes when I go to the movies, which I think you do a little bit here too, but I want to be entertained, but I also want to leave feeling like I left some kind of message, and I think there's a great one here.
Absolutely. Robin, I want to, round of applause for that, most certainly. Robin, I want to take it over to you. One of the first things that I actually noticed about the film is that you hired a disabled actor to play a disabled role, which I thought was incredibly powerful.
And go ahead. I was just gonna say, I remember when we saw it in Durham, and my sister kept saying, "Is he really like that? Is he really?" I said, "No, he just has Down syndrome. He's actually an actor." That's right. And that was him acting, and that's why representation is important across the board.
Yes, absolutely.
Across the board.
That's right.
And I just heard that they just hired a Down syndrome model.
Oh, fantastic.
In 2019, about time.
Right. It's about time for us to not keep having these first, but here we are. But I was really glad to see that. And then when you came to introduce the film, the first thing you did was thank all the black women that helped make it happen. And I was like, Robin, I like you. I would love to know what this film taught you about being an accomplice. Right? This is a diverse audience, but there are white folks here who need to hear from you about the role that white people play. I think I heard you during the film, right? This is what allyship looks like. I want to move that even further because
That wasn't me. I think that was that lady right there.
Oh, somewhere over here. It's probably Nene out here in the middle. One of my protest family. But I want to move that concept a little further, right? Because an ally sometimes stands with you and sometimes they go home when it's uncomfortable. But an accomplice is willing to take a risk. And so I want to know what you learned through making this film about how to stand up and be an accomplice.
Well, so the first thing, very early on when I first heard about this story, I was kind of looking around and no one else was telling the story, and I heard about C.P. Ellis's death and I wondered how that happened, or not how he died, but how he made this change. And then I found out about Ann Atwater and I realized how he made the change, right? It was that clear. So the film hit me, but then I realized I'm white. Well, I didn't realize that. I wasn't white. I'm white and I'm a man, right? So I'm talking about an amazing hero that not a lot of people know about. And I don't presume to know what it's like to be black in America. I don't know what it's like to be poor in the South. I was, raised in suburban Philadelphia, sheltered environment. And so,
Shout out to sheltered environment.
So from a storytelling standpoint, it had everything I wanted in a movie. But especially as the years went on and I was starting to try to get it made, it became more and more evident to me that these themes were super important. And I needed help. I needed to constantly check myself, because even though I can make an entertaining film, I wanted to make it as real as possible, because as soon as it's not real, you stop feeling, right? And so I was lucky enough to meet Ann in 2013 and spent 3 years with her. Bill Riddick is still alive, and he's been so helpful to us. He was on set for a week. And Dominique has talked to me for years about this, right? Dominique has just been so great. And then Taraji on set, you know, we'd be talking and she'd say in between, you know, takes, she'd be reading the script and we're talking about it, and then she'd tell me a little piece of something, like a little experience she had, and she'd say, yeah, and she'd say, you know that, right? You know, and I'd say, yes,
Southern
ma'am.
women store things in their boobs.
Yeah, right.
Especially their big ones. They do.
But so I never wanted, you know, I'm just a storyteller. I know this is a really important story. I am not I know I'm not the mouthpiece, but I can help make art, because art can inspire us, right? Beautiful song, poetry, visual art, a movie. It can really change you, even if just for a brief moment after you see it, right? It makes you inspired. So I can help do that. What I really learned throughout this entire process was to be a better listener. You know, I like to blab on. Anybody will tell you that, and I'm, you know, you have all your own ideas, and you're in a bubble, and I wrote it, so I know what I'm talking about, right? But I didn't always know what I was talking about, and so I just learned to be a better listener, because I was not always one, and I'm still working toward that, but that's, yeah.
I also want to say about Robin and about our production, as we all know, to make a film, it takes a village. It really does. And we filmed in Atlanta, and we had one of the most diverse crews. And Robin was not afraid to, you know, he just looked at credits, looked at skill, and looked at a relationship that he would have with the person. But we just didn't have like assistants that were, you know, different colors. We had department heads and you know, people up and down that were multicultural, and I think that really kind of helped our film feel better when we were making it. We kind of bonded as a little family, and it was great. And Robin, you know, he gets to make the last minute decisions, even though we fight him sometimes.
Can I just say something? We should never care about the color of the messenger, as long as the message is right. And we need each other. Okay? There's a lot of things that black people can't get accomplished in Hollywood. Hidden Figures couldn't get greenlit unless it was for the heads of the studios, which were all white women. So it takes all of us. Do you understand? We're humans, and we're in this together. Together. And it's going to take us all. It's going to take us all to change this thing around for the better. All of us. I don't care what color you look like.
And what I also hear you, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just so you know, these are the two women that got this film greenlit. That's the truth.
The thing that I'm really hearing you talk about is spending your privilege, right? If you've got it, whether you earned it or not, if you've got it, you're supposed to spend it to listen, to amplify other voices, to tell the stories that need to be told. You know, Taraji, I heard you speak once, and you said that life is spiritual warfare. I remember this, and you know, I stand a woman who understands the Bible, but I also, you know, I host a podcast called Pod Save the People, and every single day people are writing to us, calling in to us, and asking how to get started. And the spiritual warfare that is systemic racism, white supremacy, oppression, how do folks get started in fighting that spiritual warfare?
Start talking. Open your mouth. If you got something to say, say it. I don't care if your voice shakes. Say it. Someone needs to hear it. You can't make change quietly. You can't be quiet and act like and ignore that what's not going on. You ain't gotta be filthy rich either. Ann was dirt poor, and she died dirt poor. But the woman was selfless. We get too caught up in materialistic stuff. You don't need money to do anything. People think just because I'm a celebrity and because I'm doing what I love that I ain't got no problems. When them cameras go off and they yell, cut, that's a wrap, I go home to the same problems most of y'all go home to. And money doesn't change it. I'm so sick and tired of people jumping on my Twitter feed and my Instagram feed talking about, well, you a star, you a celebrity, you can do something. No, you can do something. Yeah. Ann wasn't a star. Nobody knew about her. No one knew about her until, did y'all know about her until today?
No, I didn't.
All right, and look at the change she made. She shut down another generation in the family of hatred. And that woman didn't have no money in her bank account. So change doesn't start with people with power. It starts with you, the common people, us, the common people. That's where it starts.
Amen. Well, all right. Somebody has the collection plate. So I want to ask one last question before we wrap up, and I'll start with Robert. We can just come down the row. I heard someone once say, it is nice to have hope, but it is better to be certain. And I just want to operate with some certainty about some things. So I want to ask each of you to ask, just a sentence or two, what do you have hope about, but of what are you certain? We can start down here.
It's a really good question. I have hope that there are just more wonderful humans than there are not wonderful humans. And maybe those not wonderful humans can change into be wonderful humans. The other thing I'm 100% certain of is, even if it's 5 more years, we'll have a different president.
It's a good thing to be certain of. Praise God. Hopefully it's not 5 years.
Actually a fact.
Dominique?
My hope, I have 3 daughters, and that's one of the reasons I'm attracted so much to Ann. And my hope is that for their generation and for future generations, that they realize the strength that this one woman had, and that they have the courage to act the way she did, and to do what they feel is right, and to reach across to somebody else and try to make their lives better, no matter who they are. That's really my hope, and I'm certain that they will.
Thank you so much for that.
My hope is that we keep hope, because if we don't, we die. My certainty is that I know love wins. Because if hate wins, that will be the end of humanity as we know it. Hate's objective is to destroy. Love gives life. You lay down, you make love, you give life. Love will win. It always wins. It won in this situation. Indeed. And this is an isolated situation. Sam Rockwell, who is amazing in this film, his research included reaching out to an ex-KKK member, right? This man's job is to pluck young men and people out of these hate groups. So C.P. Ellis is just one of many stories. Know that. So hope is very much alive.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. Thank you for that inspiration. Again, I'm Brittany Patnett, and I will say that my hope is that we all know and truly believe that the opposite of supremacy is not more supremacy, it's justice. And my certainty is that justice is divine. It is promised of God, and we are here to make it happen. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Before we go, we've got a special presentation from a Montgomery County Council member from right here in District 5, Tom Hucker. Could he come to the stage?
Do I need my shoes? I've been ready for my shoes.